Hello and welcome to Superintendent's Corner. I'm Brandon Jackson for BSTN, and joining me today is Superintendent Tim Saxon. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with school security. Are people asking you more questions lately since the recent accident that happened in Florida?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's if you're a parent, and obviously if you're a student or an educator, even our community members. I mean, it's all over the media, and people start thinking, okay, what about Boardman? So it's on the top of people's minds. The question is, what's Boardman doing? What have we been doing? The funny thing for us, this is something we do every day. So this is constantly on our minds. This is something we're constantly working on, constantly evaluating. Lockdown practice drills, as you know as a student, are as common now as fire drills. And that's why I guess people don't realize that we live this every day. We think about school security every day, not when there's a national tragedy, but this is something we're evaluating. In my previous position, Director of Operations, I was in charge of security. So it was one of my main charges in that previous position. So I lived it directly for 3 years, and I can tell you, we had an outside analysis done from a third party, and they created a thick document, and we've been implementing that plan over the years. And Mr. Zockler, who replaced me, is continuing that along with Mr. McKenzie and the building principals and our school resource officers. There's two pieces to it. You got to protect from the outside threat, and that's what people mostly see: the locked door, the wrapper system, the man traps. But also, like in Florida, you have to also take a look at the internal threat, and that's where you build programs. So you've seen things like EWS. You've seen our SHIELD program, which is part of the PBIS. A lot of letters here. We have partnerships with Alta and Meridian, because what we're doing is we're working with families and we're working with kids and monitoring the health on the inside of the district.
Nationally, students are organizing walkouts due to this to protest against school violence. I've heard Boardman students went to the administration asking to be involved. Can you update us on that at all?
That's a really good question. Obviously, I said this before, this is the first time in my 30-year career that the kids are really now actively involved. This used to always be an adult and an educator issue that we were managing, but the kids are really asking now. And I think that's a good thing, but we got to make sure it's a positive thing. I know I've heard about walkouts. Let's just analyze that for a second. Here's what could happen. Students want to protest by walking outside, and it's our job to protect them from threats both inside and outside. When students go outside, security goes out, no pun intended, out the door. How difficult that is. I mean, that's probably not the thing that you want to do, and this isn't a political statement. So we are working with the school leadership to talk about how can we both represent this in a positive manner, something that will work for them and keep them safe. So their message can be heard, but we can still keep them safe and use this as a learning tool. I mean, we're here to educate kids. Let's make this a learning tool. And that's what we want to work to. We want to make it, quote, the proverbial win-win. And that meeting is actually going to happen today, so probably tomorrow we'll have an update for our student body and for our educators on how we're going to craft that into something positive.
Thank you. And the last time you were here, the school board had just voted to put a $4.9 million levy on the May ballot. Can you bring us up to date with that?
Yes. Obviously, I mean, that's still on course. But just for maybe, don't want to go into too much detail, but some of the top questions we get is like, okay, we understand about the hospital, because we've talked about in a previous episode, they pull $1 million out. You're asking for 4.9, even basic math says, okay, that's $1 million and 4.9. Where's that 4.9 coming from? So very quickly here, there's a school funding formula. I'm going to try to do this in less than 3 minutes, which could be a record. But basically the state says education of a child is a partnership between state funding and local funding. And they allocate about $6,000 per student. Then they have a formula that decides how much the state should give you and how much should come from your community. Because Boardman's considered a wealthy district. I just drove down Market Street, car dealerships, Panera's, Dunkin' Donuts. So there is economic development here. We get about a third of that. So we get a little under $2,000 from the state towards that $6,000. The other $4,000 is supposed to come from the community. But when they switched to this formula, we were actually, the funding difference over what we were supposed to get was so great they couldn't afford to give it to us. So they cap us, they restrict us. So they actually cap us $3.8 million. They say, here's our funding formula. You should get even an additional $3.8 million every year. We just at this time can't afford to give it to you. We'll give you a little bit at a time. Like this year they're going to give us $250,000, which sounds like a lot, but they owe us 3.8. We're not getting that. That combined with about $1 million, and you can start to see how that 4.9. That's been happening every year. It used to be worse. It used to be over $6 million. So we didn't spend our way into this situation. We're just not funded properly, and we need to go back to our community to get the support.
Thanks. And I understand the State of the Schools community meeting is being planned in March. Can you describe who needs to be there and what will be going on?
Okay, that's March 20th, and that's in the Boardman High School cafeteria at 6:30. Who needs to be there? Every Boardman taxpayer, every single one. I hope I hope the issue we have is we're out of capacity, but every single person should be there because this is not a levy campaign, a rally. This is about the state of schools. We're here with the Board of Education and school leaders to talk about exactly what I just said. Why are we asking for $4.9 million? How do we get here, and how are we going to get out of it? And people need to know. A voter needs to be educated, and that's what that meeting's about. It's not a levy promo. This is about the state of schools, what's happening, and our plan, how we're going to get ourselves out of this. And people need to hear that. They need to be informed.
Thanks. And is there anything else you'd like to add to let people know how important passing the levy for the schools is?
Well, obviously, just people watching this, we're blessed with so many wonderful programs here. Academic success in the athletics, success in the arts, and this is a great year to celebrate this part of the 100 years. Those programs have been built over time. We're at the turning point right now where we're going to start to dismantle those programs. Already, even without having to put new money on, we are starting to dismantle because of our funding issue. We're cutting $500,000 out of our budget right now, whether the levy passes or not. Now, in May, we're going to put that issue up. If it does not pass, we have to cut an additional $1 million out. Programs are going to be dismantled. The opportunities that you got, some of these kids in elementary school will no longer have the opportunity to have. What people need to know is it's decision time. It's a turning point. They need to protect the programs, protect the tradition that we've built over 100 years.
And you just mentioned protecting the tradition of excellence in the Boardman community. That brings us up to the recent honors breakfast that we just had. And did I hear that there are 19 valedictorians this year?
It was a big table. Yeah, I came to Boardman in 2002, and actually, this is not a bragging point. I think about 2006. Back then, PTA President Cheryl Tarantino and I started that honors breakfast. I think that's the most I've ever seen up there, 19. And some people are saying, wow, 19, they must, that sounds like great inflation. No, we have kids. The number of kids in our honors programs and our AP programs has grown. I mean, we've been nationally recognized for that. That's not fake. So to me, it's no surprise to have those 19. That's to me is a great data point. You want to talk about proof of what's going on in the schools? Look at those 19 kids and look what they're going to do when they go on to college.
Thank you. And lastly, I was at the final home basketball game. It was senior night, of course, and also elementary night. And NFL player and Spartan grad Corey Lindsley was there to be honored. I thought it was amazing, but what were you feeling? I sat towards the top of the bleachers. One, because it's a great view. Two, because it was so crowded, and that was the only seat available. But I just sat there with a smile on my face because what a great turnout. We had elementary kids excited. I watched elementary kids competing and having fun on our court. I watched a bunch of seniors be honored as I watched them play in their final home game, reflecting on 13 years of excellence in the Boardman schools and the traditions they've walked through academically, athletically, and in the arts. Then you take a look at someone a little more popular. You can gauge success by many things, but in the football world, Corey Lindsley has been very successful. But if you listen to him talk, if you watch some of the interviews, there's a great one on BSTN TV on YouTube.
If you listen to Corey, what he talks about is not necessarily the athletic piece, but he talks about success and support and the love that he got walking the halls of all the Boardman schools. But the thing people don't know about Corey, they see these big NFL linemen and they want to put him into this role. Corey Lindsey was the president of our computer club. He still is, a very intelligent, successful academic student. And that's part of the reason why he's so successful at the NFL. It's not just having that body size and that strength and athletic ability. He's the complete package. And that's always our goal, the type of person we want to graduate from Boardman.
Thank you to Superintendent Mr. Saxon for being here today. Again, the State of the Schools meeting will be held at the high school on Tuesday, March 20th at 6:30 p.m. I'm Brandon Jackson for BSCN. Have a great day, everyone.